Yeah, she definitely does want to kick out the arse out. How's it going, everyone? Today we've got a
4th generation Camaro.
So yeah, let's get into it. What are the specs of the car?
So it's 1998 Chevrolet Camaro. It's got a 3.8 litre V6. It's 200 horsepower, and that engine's paired to a 4-speed automatic transmission with an overdrive, and that feeds through to a limited slip differential in the rear.
Oh, she makes a great noise. Yeah. What would be the history of this car?
It's had quite a long history. I bought it from a chap whose dad had it from pretty much new, as far as I understood, and his dad had it for many years, and then he was going to convert it to a V8, so he partially stripped the car, but it stood in storage for a good couple of years, 5-10 years or something like that, and then he died, and the son sort of, obviously with his estate, inherited all the stuff, and he had it up for sale. He was going to scrap it, but I found it and I bought it off him, so we went down to England to go get it, and got it all together. It's all basically original as the previous owner had it, really. Just a couple of things were needed, 1 or 2 missing pieces, which obviously have been lost over the years.
Yeah.
And as I've had it for going on 5-6 years now. It hasn't really done much mileage. I drove it for a good couple of years, 2 or 3 years, as an everyday car. And it's reliable. It's dead reliable. It starts every time. It's never given us any trouble. It had a water temperature sensor went once, but I mean in the years I've had it, and stuff never been a problem for me. So at the moment now, it just kind of sits and gets driven in the summer sometimes, but doesn't do much mileage now.
Fair enough. Yeah. And how long have you actually owned this car for?
It was 2018, I think I bought it, so it's 6 years, is it? I forget, lose track of time with COVID. But yeah, so it must be 5-6 years now, definitely. No, I bought it. I've always loved my American cars. I used to race American cars. I just have a good soft spot for American cars. They're my favorite category of cars.
Yeah. So what would be the general consensus of this specific generation of Camaro?
Yeah, I think it was like a mixed reviewed Camaro. They weren't bad out of the factory. Obviously, looks weren't everybody's cup of tea. It looks a bit strange. I think they got the nickname, I think in Australia, of like a duckbill. Yeah. Because it's got like or catfish, cat-eyed Camaro is another one. So yeah, the Camaro version wasn't the prettiest of them, especially the pre-facelift model. This is obviously the facelift one, and they did look a bit odd. Yeah. You know, they just didn't look great. But the Pontiac version, which is the same car, same engine lineups and all that sort of stuff, they had much nicer styling, and I think they were more popular. People preferred them. But they're not a bad car. They're very streamlined, obviously, with the way its shape is. It's very low on the drag, the coefficient of drag. So like these, actually, the V8 ones, they clock faster quarter mile times than the generation after this. The Bumblebee Transformer 2010 version, they actually clocked a faster quarter mile time. Just even with a bit of less horsepower, they were just streamlined. For performance side, people take them, not really much so the V6s, but the V8 ones, they take them and they twin turbo them, they supercharge them, and they end up with really good performance cars. Because they are kind of like good streamlining and very moddable. There's a lot of modifications you can do to these, and you can get everything you want from them from America. So it says, and they're the cheapest one because they're not really the desired model. They're the cheapest Camaro to get into.
So just a question I've got for you: what does the SGS button mean there?
So SGS, it's second gear start. So all that basically does is it instead of starting off in first gear, it would start off in second gear and then like tone down the aggression of the shifts in the gearbox, and then I think it changes a little bit sooner in the rev range, and it's more for winter. So obviously these cars are obviously sold and designed for America, where you end up with a lot colder weather than we have here. So if you're somewhere in Illinois and it's minus 30 degrees outside and covered in 10 feet of snow, everything's really slippery. So you can still get around a little bit in these in the winter. It's not bad. It's quite good in that way.
What would be the difference generation in between this Camaro and the same generation of Corvette?
These were like basically the Corvette's baby brother in a sense. If you couldn't afford the Corvette, or you didn't want something as quick or stylish.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't go for something more stylish, but if you didn't want that, you could go for one of these. They were a lot cheaper. Pretty, you know, with the V8 ones, they're literally the same engine they went in the Corvette. It was literally a throttle body that was different.
Okay.
So they were the same running gear, same gearbox, same diff in most cases, similar brakes. You know, basically the same car, different bodied. So yeah, so a cheaper option. I think they're handier to get in and out of, easier to live with every day. The boot or the trunk, it's a bit bigger compared to the Corvette. It's a bigger car, funny enough, than the Corvette, but it's still not bad performance out of them. So it was just like if you couldn't afford the Corvette, this was your next option.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, you got the same features in a sense, but just at a cheaper price tag.
Yeah. Oh, that is such a noise. What would be the rarity of one of these cars in the UK?
They're not particularly rare. I think they're becoming more rare just with age and ones getting scrapped or damaged and things like that. Like obviously with every car, but they're not particularly rare. You can still pick them up. The pre-facelift ones, I think they were more common in the UK because these were sold. GM at the time had dealerships in England and the UK here, and they were sold as brand new in the UK. They weren't technically imported. They were sold here as new, even though left-hand drive. Yeah. So these were all made to UK spec, you know, with the different lights, brakes, everything was per the UK regulation. So people could go into a showroom in the 90s and buy one of these off the floor. These ones are probably a little bit harder to find, but not much harder. You can still pick them up. They're still relatively cheap and affordable. The Pontiacs are a lot more prevalent, obviously, because more people bought them. They just look better. Yeah. So you can find them. There's plenty of them about. But this type of Camaro, maybe a little bit harder to find, but you know, you'll still pick them up.
Yeah.
You'll still pick them up.
It's more in a way like a GT car, sort of, this one in particular.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that. I mean, obviously it's not going to compete with your Maseratis and, you know, BMW GTs and all that kind of stuff, or Aston Martins. But I mean, I'd say for the year, for the cost that they were, they are really comfy, easy to drive, and you know, when you're on the road, like you can see from your side, it's not bad.
Yeah.
You know, visibility out to the road is really good.
So what is this car like to drive?
It's not bad. I mean, I'm used to the left-hand drive, so it's, you know, for me, it's not hard.
Yeah.
For some people, it can be hard, you know, just with being left-hand drive. Like my wife, she prefers us to drive. She finds it quite easy, you know, and she's never driven a left-hand drive before. This was her first car that she ever drove as left-hand drive, and it's really easy. You sit quite low down. I mean, in the sense, it's a wide car. I think that's what gives people why it's a bit harder to drive is when you're in there, you can't see. Yeah. You know, outside of the dash pretty much, so you can't see the front end of this car. You can see where the spoiler is, but you can't really see where the back actually is. It's almost the same size as a Jaguar XF. It's wider, but almost as long.
Yeah.
So it's it is a big car. That's, I think, the hardest part is just judging where the extremities of the car are when you're on the road, and parking. Like parking's a big one. Like the hardest thing about this car to drive in the UK is the doors. The doors are just massive. They're like long, very long. So to get out in a car park, the door has to open, you know, and so you really can't squeeze out a small little gap when it's already open. Exactly, so that's like the main challenge, is parking spaces are the biggest problem. But on the road, it's not bad. I mean, these aren't very high to start with, so you know, some speed bumps can be a problem. They are just naturally this low.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge, but they're not hard to drive. I mean, they're easy, they're comfortable. You've got power steering, you've got automatic gearbox, you sit really comfortably, you've got adjustable steering wheel height and all that sort of stuff, adjustable mirrors. You know, you've got good visibility inside of the road, but not of the car.
Yeah.
So in that terms, just to say, I think once you've driven it for a little bit, you get used to it, you'll be all right.
So you sit very low, and it's a bit like the Lotus XL I was in. It's sort of an illusion. You sit low and you think you're going very fast when we're only doing, what are we doing at the minute? We're
40 miles an hour.
We're doing 40 miles an hour, and it feels like we're doing at least 60.
Yeah, it's because you're quite low to the ground, you know, everything's passing you by and you rarely see it. But yeah, you do feel like you're going a lot faster than you really are.
So have you got any future plans for this car?
Not really, just keep preserving it. Maybe touch up some of the cosmetic things. You know, there's paint peeling here and there, and there's some bits of scratches and damage from the previous owner on some of the panels. But they're all minor things. It's just more preservation at this point. And that's about it. Just keep it going. So I wouldn't really modify. It's not really worth modifying these. It's not like, well, this particular one with the V6 is not really worth modifying. You know, if you had the V8 one, yeah, you know, go ahead. There's lots you can do. But the V6 ones, it's not really point modifying it. It's just a good, reliable car for a Sunday driver and for a wee bit of long distance trips and stuff like that. It's perfect. So leave it as it is, really.
You were saying to me that cup holder is designed for what, supersized mugs?
Yeah. Well, they can take the supersized mugs, you know, the American stuff. So obviously it can take every kind of thing. Like I've got a couple of other flasks that, you know, when I'm up and down to work, and when we're traveling, we take our flasks with us, and they fit in there perfect. I mean, obviously this one's a little bit not really designed for that, but yeah. It fits.
So what would be some of the quirks about this car?
So some of the quirks is the dash is really big, long. The windows are really big, but it's smaller inside the car because it's so, you know, it's so low. The cup holders got neat cup holders. They actually work. They're well sized. You can actually put a cup with a handle in the cup holders because it's got a little cutout for a handle. It's got the footwell. They're off at a little bit of an angle because of the way the engine is situated in the car, and it's so far back. The footwell's off to a side, you know, for the bell housing and the transmission and all that. So like everything's a little bit off to the side. The passenger seat, just in front of it, it's raised up. That's for the supports underneath for the transmission. So it's not like a normal car. You've actually got a smooth floor pan there. You sit really low in this car. Obviously, you are only 4 inches off the ground or 5 inches off the ground, so you are very, very low on the ground. The front end, obviously, because the car swoops so far down and it's so low, obviously the front end had to be very long for the radiator, because that's got to sit at an angle. So it is very hard to judge where that is, obviously, because you just can't see it. The bonnet's that long, you just can't see that. So another interesting quirk or two, they came with a CD changer, so it has 10 CD changer as standard, plus tape cassette and all that. But an interesting quirk would be the spare wheel on these actually sits in the rear fender. Okay. It doesn't sit underneath the car or in the boot or the trunk. It's actually in the fender. So there's a panel on the side of the inside there. You just take it off and your wheel's in there with the jack and the toolkit and all that, because there's a lot of space. I mean, it's literally empty space there. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. In the back there's your spare wheel.
Yeah, she definitely does want to kick out the arse out.
She does, yeah. It's easy enough to on these cars. There's no weight in the back, so no, they are good fun. So you can have fun with them. You know, even though they don't have the load of power, they are still fun.
Now it's time to rate the car. So for Future Classic, we've given it a 6. For Daily, we've given it a 4. For Wallet Hurt, we've given it a 7. And for Fun, we've given it another 7. So the total comes to 24 out of 40, which is 60%. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow our vlog and podcast channel, link description, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
And especially being on the Northern Irish roads, especially some of the smaller ones, it can be a big car for being 2-door and 2-seater. So it's